Welcome back. This is The Spread. This is The Spread. You know how we get down here. We have great conversations about all kinds of things, lifestyle and otherwise. Anything. We just have real conversations. No judgment, just perspectives, just opinions. And we got an interesting guest here today. We got Dr. Elana Hoffman. Give it up for Dr. Elana Hoffman. We're glad to have you. Hey, Doc. Hey, Doc. How you feeling today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. Thank you.
You ready to get sacrificed, crucified on the couch?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
With Pete.
We're gonna put the pressure on you. It's informal. We want to learn some things. And one of the things, there's something interesting before you guys get started. I just want to get my 2 cents in here. So there's something interesting you spoke to me about before, and you said that when it comes to relationships, because you are a relationship therapist. What kind of therapist are you? Let's get that. Let's talk about that.
I am a clinical psychologist, and I specialize in relationships and sex, and I see individuals and couples in my private practice.
But you're sex positive.
I'm very sex positive.
Yeah,
kink positive.
Kink positive,
Okay.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really kind of bring in that perspective and that focus. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hold my question. You guys get started.
Okay,
Go.
all right.
I got you. I'm gonna get in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get in there. But y'all go ahead. Go ahead and do your thing. I'm out of here.
What does that mean to be kink positive? And I guess maybe let's start with what is kink, especially in a clinical setting, and versus those other terms we throw around a lot, like
Fetish.
Fetish. Thank you. And this old school term that used to be used called a paraphilia.
Yeah. Well, first, I think what it means to be kink positive as a therapist is really, providing a non-judgmental space in which to talk about sex and kink and whatever a client is interested in and asking about it. Not just kink, but sex in general. Not a lot of therapists really ask about that. So that's also what it means to be sex positive. And to really sort of focus on that if that's what clients are bringing into or coming in with, or, just to sort of have a non-judgmental space. But in terms of definition, so I think kink is a really sort of broad term. It could encompass lots of things. And it really is just something that is a little not vanilla, kind of different, but people can have very different definitions of kink. And the term itself is really sort of the kink community kind of refers to themselves as kinky, whereas something like a fetish, which is different than a kink, falls under the umbrella of a kink. But that used to come, the term fetish is kind of an old psychiatrist term to describe something that provides a lot of sort of sensory stimuli, like you get aroused by, and that could be it could be a sex object, or it could not be a sex object, but that's very arousing for you. So it's a specific kind of kink.
And then what about the paraphilia word?
Yeah, so
Does the DSM still use paraphilia?
Yeah, there's a category in the DSM-5, paraphilia disorders. And so fetish is not in the DSM anymore, but it does fall under, there's a fetish disorder that is still in the DSM that falls in the category of paraphilia. And one of the hallmark things about it is that it causes distress to the person. And I think they also added that the fetish itself is either causes distress to you, or you get off on someone else's distress. So that's also kind of in there.
So how do you navigate that as a therapist when you have people who maybe want to talk about their fetish, but they're dealing with things outdated, in my opinion, like the DSM that categorizes their thing that gets them off, even though it doesn't cause distress to anyone else, as a disorder? Because in the DSM, don't they categorize pedophilia under the same guise as a disorder, as someone who likes
to cross-dress?
Yeah, or cross, or what is it,
feet,
trans? Yeah. What does the DSM call it? But it's like if you're trans, it falls under the same umbrella. How do
Or
did. Okay.
Fortune,
yeah.
Yeah, I think, there's still a lot of shame that comes along with certain fetishes or kinks. And, we talk about that, kind of how to sort of navigate that and realize that that's not like that it's not a pathology unless they kind of feel like it is, like it's really getting in the way of their life or it's really affecting their relationship. So just sort of normalizing it. And there's the DSM is problematic in a bunch of ways, so I talk about that too.
I would love to get the writers of the DSM on this couch. I have so many questions.
Yeah, but it is a topic of conversation for sure.
So the way that it was sort of broken down for me at a point in time was that like a kink can be anything that turns you on. It's really like super broad. Even if what seems vanilla to you is maybe not vanilla to somebody else, But what distinguishes that kind of from a fetish is that if you have a fetish, you need that. So it's the difference between like it turns me on and I need it to get turned on.
Yeah.
And then the paraphilia kind of coming in when that fetish that you need causes you anxiety or makes it significantly difficult for you to maintain relationships or something like
So
that.
can I add a scenario to that?
Yeah.
And this is a scenario I heard someone else mention, because I feel like when it becomes a paraphilia, people always like that's the extreme and it's causing like that's when it's bad, right?
Yeah.
That's when you make it a disorder. So what if a guy like is into infantilism, like he wants to wear diapers and he only gets off if he can like shit in diapers, right? And his wife is like, I don't want to participate in this, it's causing harm to me. And he's like, well, it's causing harm for me because you won't participate in that. Like, is that paraphilia, or is it just, like you guys can maybe come to a middle ground, or maybe there's just, it doesn't match and find someone that works for you and vice versa. But is it fair to call it paraphilia because it's harming each other, it's harming their marriage, it's harming him, it's harming her? Like, how do you not shame someone, I guess? Because I feel like most people are quick to shame and say, well, you're wrong because you're disrupting your marriage. You have this
Right.
beautiful
And you need
marriage
this very taboo thing,
Yeah.
and you're the one that needs to like not do it, right? Because I think whether you kind of call it a paraphilia or not, it still is a problem, right? So it's a problem in this scenario for him and his partner, and needing to navigate that. So it obviously causes some psychological distress, relationship stress, sexual distress, right, among them. So I would think about it as something that needs to be, something that needs to be solved, and we would kind of talk about it. But if it's that level of impairment, it definitely just means that it needs some attention, I would say.
I have an angel on my shoulder, but a devil in my head.